Our king is dead, and so that his soul may find its eternal rest, the princess shall lead his funeral chariot into the royal catacombs.
We're at the sort of the ID at Xbox balcony at the Best of Xbox showcase here at E3. We're catching up with an old friend, Martin, who's been on GRTV before. We met back at PAX, and at that time it was all about zombies, but you're doing something, well, there's some undead things in Chariot as well. Yeah. Tell us about your new game.
Well, Chariot is a couch co-op platformer. It involves a princess whose father, the king, just died recently, and she has to put him to rest, you know, in a final resting place. But she's accompanied by her fiancé, and the king, who's recently dead, is also coming back as a ghost, and he keeps complaining that he would like to be buried in a nicer, much more filled with gold tomb. So his coffin is carried out on wheels, and it's the title's Chariot. So the difference, the hook with this game is that it's like a traditional platformer, but you carry this chariot all the time, and you use it to jump on it, to pull on it. It's physics-based, so you pull ropes, you push, you pull, you use special items to repulse it, to bring it back. So it's at the heart of the gameplay. So it all happens in underground caves. There's 25 different levels and 5 different environments. So if you're in the ice caves, it's going to be all slippery, so the physics are affected by it. It's couch co-op, so you play with your friend. You can play solo, but it's much more fun to, you know, have somebody. It's old school, you know, couch co-op. So, yeah.
The art style is kind of particular. It sort of feels like little bit like a children's book, a little bit, but it's also like it's got a little bit of a harsher tone as well. What's the thought behind the art style?
Yeah, you'd have to ask our art director, Chris Egglestone, for that. But basically what we had to do is we came up with this idea. Philippe Dion, who was a programmer at Frima, came up with the idea for the game, and he had mostly an idea about a mechanic, which is the physics with the chariot. And then we needed to find a story, and we needed to find an art style that would work with how we created the levels. Because with our level editors, the way it works, the way the physics works, we couldn't have, you know, tall characters. We needed to have small, roundish characters. So everything is kind of blocky, angular. But instead of seeing that as a problem, we embraced it to have a very singular art style. Everybody sees that game and says, "Oh, it's Chariot." So very quickly we embraced it. Also, the game is about, you know, somebody's dead body in a coffin, but it's not a dark game at all. So everything is happy. The characters, they're dangling over lava and they're just having fun. You know, they're a couple doing an activity together, and I think the art styles reflect that. And then we're doing this on next-gen platforms, so we went all in with all kinds of visual effects, shaders, and particle effects. So the game looks really gorgeous, and I'm pretty proud of that.
Yeah, and for a platformer, enemies don't really play a big part, but you have some sort of, it's almost like a stealth component there, where you can either sort of not risk going for gold, or you risk going for gold and waking up enemies. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It looks like you've played the game for hours. You really got it. Exactly. You try to finish the level with as much gold as possible, because the king is actually going to complain if you leave some gold over there.
You want to anger the dead.
Yeah. So there's looters in there. There's looters' nest, and if you get some loot near them, or if you bump the chariot too loud, it makes like a sound wave, and it can wake them up. So you actually need either to fight them off, or to be very careful not to wake them up, because in certain levels, fighting them off is just gonna, you know, make it less worse, but you're still gonna get some loot stolen, because the looters, they don't attack you at all. They just grab your loot and go. That's why they call the looters.
So I understand that you can play it in single player, but obviously it seems like co-op, it's going to be a little bit easier to progress in the game.
It's easier, it's more fun, because if you're playing together, there are areas that are easier to reach, because if you play single player, solo, there are some areas that are almost impossible to reach. But since it's a physics-based game, there's a different move that you can pull off with special items and stuff that makes it able for very good gamers to go pretty much everywhere. If you play together, then it gets easier. But then there's a lot of challenges, areas that are made. They're not they're optional areas, but they give out, you know, trophies or special loot, collectibles, and that are very satisfying to pull off. So you're saying, okay, we could do this that way, or we could try it that way. There's different solutions to different areas, and that's what makes it a lot of fun, because the satisfaction is much more than just getting loot. It's actually, you know, oh my God, we did manage to pull that off. And seeing the people play tonight, I think we nailed that pretty well.
All right, so it goes without saying it's on Xbox One, but there are other platforms it's coming to as well?
Yes, it's coming out on Xbox One, PS4, Wii U, and PC on the same day.
And what day is that?
It's not announced yet, but it's before the end of the year.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure.